Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Irn-Cru, an NFL podcast made in Scotland discussing America's game. Week 10 is just around the corner, so it's time for the preview crew. I'm your host, Dan, and joining me tonight are some of the finest crew members. Tonight, joining me was going to be the full Thursday crew, because it seems to be the same guys every week. But unfortunately, Craig's been tied up with work, so we just have to make do with the three of us. Guys, a wee interesting point I've picked up on this week. You know how the fans of NFL teams have got their own kind of nicknames. So you've got like the Cowboys Nation and the Bills Mafia. We all now know that the Chiefs fans are called Swifties. Well, after the quarterback performance last week, Craig and his fellow Vikings fans are now called Daubers. Did you know this one?
No, I didn't know that. And I had no idea where you were going with that. That's absolutely excellent. That's magic. It's almost like Dobby, the house elf from Harry Potter.
For those that are not listening in Scotland, Dobber is a Scottish slang word that you can look up on the Urban Dictionary. We won't go into it in detail on the pod. First up joining me tonight, this guy is the founder of the UK Mac Jones fan club. He's a founder, the sole member, and also the first person to resign from the club. It's Scud, how you doing?
I'm good, buddy. Good to be here. How's you getting on?
Aye, not too bad, not too bad. This is the best bit about this podcast, these introductions. It's the bit I spend the most time on.
Well, Shane, you got introduced.
Oh, exactly. That's the perks of being the host.
We need to have the listeners or like the folks to maybe kind of write in some suggestions for an introduction for Dan for next week then, and we can read that out on air.
That's fine. I'm not on next week, so it's good.
Be perfect. We'll have a roast of Dan without you there.
So I've learned something new today, right? But before I expand on that, the next person we've got on the pod tonight, his Bengals team were my favourite team with a name associated with a tiger, but they're being replaced now. Suzuki Stu, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, but depending on how where you're going with this whole tiger replacement name for a team thing.
So there is a junior ice hockey team that plays in the Western Hockey League in Alberta, and they're called the Medicine Hat Tigers.
Oh yeah,
what a name! Medicine Hat. What a name for a town or a city. I love it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We have a lot of kind of few kind of place names that are a bit like that there, but yeah, Medicine Hat Tigers. I think they might actually be in town here this weekend, or they were there last week because they would play the Edmonton Oil Kings.
I did not even know that.
Yeah.
What sort of link is that for me to come up with that the week that they are in town? I genuinely didn't know that.
Timing.
So the other week when I predicted you were going to be in your car and you were.
You know what? You should start putting on lottery. You need to start putting on the lottery, or like maybe you should tell us what your picks are each week for the games and the pick 'em, because I'm doing terrible on that. I don't know about the rest of you.
So you don't want to know. I always let my heart rule my head. That's my problem.
Aye. I just forget to do it some weeks.
I forgot to do it for week 2.
You probably still have a better, like, you know what?
A percentage, you've got 9 out of 10 right, and that's you.
I'm solid.
Right, guys, we'll move on. Thanks for joining tonight, as always, guys. It does seem to be always was on a Thursday night, and it's always good to chat to you. So let's move on with the kickoff question. Tonight's kickoff question, just a random thought that I had the other day, and I thought we'd throw out there. It does come on the back of the international games and discussions, and I don't think we're going to see an NFL team worldwide anytime soon. But hypothetically, if you could pick any city in the world to have an NFL expansion team, where would it be, and what would the team name be? Stu, I'll come to you first.
I mean, I'm obviously going to immediately shout out the easy, obvious one, which is Edmonton, and say let's bring the NFL to Canada. But no, that's too easy an answer here, and it would also kill the CFL. So we maybe don't want to do that. No, I think where I would love to see a team, purely because I guess again, easy answer kind of thing. I'm totally copping out here. I think they should maybe just move one to London. Because if you look at the amount of folk that head to games there from all over the UK, and even kind of head over from the States and that as well, why not just move the Jaguars? Just have them there in London. I think that's the way to go.
So would it be the London Jaguars, or what would the team be called?
I mean, I was going to say London Lions, but then went, no, you can't do that. They're the Detroit Lions. So, not London Jaguars. I'm completely copping out.
Taking the easy way out. So it's not you like good, to be fair. Normally you go outside the box, so we'll let you off on this occasion. Scud, where are you going and what's your team?
I was going to do ones for like in Glasgow or something like that and go for the Glasgow Gladiators or some malarkey like that. But thinking about where I'd like to go and see a game and for the experience in the weekend away, etc., I'll go with Berlin. I'll love the city. It's a cracking place to go and visit. And as last week shown, Germany's got a great fan base as well. So it would be good to have it there. Plus their beer's not too bad.
Now you can't call them the Berlin Thunder, so what name are you going for?
Berlin Brawlers.
Or the Berlin Bratwurst.
The sausage team. Do you think they'll be able to the Vikings? Think they'll be able to trade for the Vikings for Madison?
Aye. That'd be amazing. The only other one I thought of from a joke point that I didn't whip out there, speaking of sausages, was and this is purely just based on the name of the team. I thought when I was sitting going through it, going, okay, I could go jokey with this, and ended up copping out and going for London. I thought about Turin in Italy and having the Turin shrouds.
Oh, I like it. So I went the complete opposite way, and I've just went with an absolute joke. There's no logic behind mine at all, apart from I think it's funny. I'm probably going to be the only person that thinks it's funny. So we've talked many times about expanding into Mexico. So I would go for a team in Acapulco, and they're going to be called the Locos. So we can say we're going to see the Locos in Acapulco.
That's excellent. I like.
Good one.
I mean, at least they would have a song ready made for them. Anyway, guys, enough of my nonsense. Well, it's been one of those days. Folks that are listening, watching, if you follow us on socials, you'll know that we've currently got a cracking giveaway on the go at the moment with the giveaway queen herself, Claire the Bear. If you check out our socials, mainly our Twitter, you'll see it all over there, what you can win. There's loads of NFL goodies. With all Claire's giveaway, she doesn't tell you what it's going to be. It's a big surprise box, but we can let you in a secret. There's loads of Scottish stuff in there. There's Tunnocks, there's Irn-Cru soap, loads of good Scottish goodies for you as well. So check us out on the Twitter, get that giveaway. I think we've only got a few days left. It's been a great response to it so far. So if you want to get a chance of winning, go in and check the tweet out. All the instructions are all in there. You don't want to miss out on this one. Right, guys, on to the games this week. So we flipped it. Last week we had all the obvious games, but tonight this is my favourite Thursday night games. When we pick games that are out the box and we cover teams that we don't really talk about and we can have a great discussion about them. So that's what we're doing tonight. We've picked three games that teams that are probably a bit neglected on the preview crew. So for the first one, I'm going to steal some of Craig. Craig sent us some stats across tonight because he'd done his homework before we started tonight. So he sent us across. So we're plagiarising Craig's homework here. So these two teams have got 10 Super Bowls between them, but I can tell you right now they're not going to be anywhere near it this season. The Packers haven't won in Pittsburgh since 1970. Since then, the Steelers are 5-0 at home against the Packers, and the last time these two teams played, it was Big Ben against Aaron Rodgers. Now, we all know that the quarterback situation at these two teams is completely different now. We'll all cover this one. But Scott, kick us off by telling us, how are the Steelers 5-3?
Lucky. When you look at to me, they've had an easy ride for us so far into the season, and I think they're what's the word for it? They're flattering. They're flattering to deceive at that because to me, I've watched them a couple of times, even just in red zone or games in 40, and they're a hard team to watch. There seems to be no There's nothing apart from defense where they've always been solid. That's probably the main reason why they're 5-3. They're keeping them in it and keeping the games close, and they're managing to come up with some plays. But apart from that, they're just lackluster. They've got two decent wide receivers, but I'm not sure if Pickens is the answer at quarterback, to be honest with you, mate.
Pickett.
Yeah.
Pickens. They
Pickett
confuse me all the time.
I do it as well.
Maybe he'd be better at throwing it, actually.
Switch them round and see what happens.
Yeah, no, Scott. I was going to say there just to kind of slightly counter that point. Like one of the things that I kind of flagged up on this, like in the past couple of games at least, and it doesn't speak for the whole season. But I almost said Pickens as well. Pickett has been actually playing a lot better, and I know his passer ratings are up around about 100, or it's been over 100 for the last 2 games. So we've seen with Deontay Johnson coming back healthy, they do seem to be picking up a little bit on the offense. They're still a hard watch. I'm not saying that they're like, it's not like watching peak Chiefs or the Bengals now that we're rolling. But they are looking slightly better on the offense. But yeah, you nailed it. Like their defense is the thing that's been keeping them in their game, keeping them in games. And as long as they can keep TJ Watt like healthy and rolling, that's going to help them. Joey Porter Jr., what an inspired pick that was. And obviously, I'm a Bengals fan. I don't like to see the Steelers doing well. It's one of those ones where it's nice to see a guy who's got the family connection to the team getting drafted by them. And I think he's second overall in the league when you look at defensive rating or for coverage ratings, kind of thing, or like how we define that. So he's a guy that you could see maybe kind of getting defensive rookie of the year or something at the end of it. So their defense is definitely what's keeping them in games. I do agree that maybe Pickett's know the guy to keep them going forever, but definitely in the last few games he's improved a lot.
But I still think they've only averaged 16 points a game, 30th overall in the league. So there's where your issue is straight away. And their defence is usually, we said, they're keeping them in it. But I just think it's been a hard watch, to be honest with you. That I don't enjoy watching my Patriots just much now either. So I'm not saying anything out untoward, but they're just a hard watch.
Yeah,
personally, I feel
it's one of these things. Oh, sorry, don't you go, Dan?
I was going to say, just touching on their defence, they've held teams to under 21 points in 5 of the last 6 games. So, as you say, the defence is what's getting them to where they're at.
Yep.
Yeah, it's almost like what it reminds me of is the year where Rangers went to the UEFA Cup final, where it kind of seemed they would play teams like nothing each, and then they would get one break kind of thing and score, and they would just take their chances. And this is kind of like the gridiron equivalent of that, where they're keeping teams down low because it's like their defence is, let's face it, they're elite kind of thing. And, one of the 4 pretty much elite defences that are playing in that AFC North division. And they can definitely build on offence and go from there. The one thing I would say for the Steelers moving forward that has me slightly worried as a Bengals fan is that when you look at the schedule, I don't know if you want to kind of bring it up while I'm talking there, kind of, Dan, but when I have a quick look at it, heading towards the end of the season, it's like they're already sitting there with, they're above us. I mean, because we're sitting last in the division, even though we're also 5-3 because of the head-to-heads or head-to-heads against the AFC North. Their schedule is not really all that hard towards the end. I know they have the divisional games, but I can definitely see a path for Pittsburgh to make it into the playoffs. I'm not saying they're going to go there and they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I can see them making the playoffs because they just have that easy path, or the softer games.
Let's look at it. So we've got obviously the Packers this week. They'll then get the Browns, the Bengals, which are both divisional games, could go either way,
and both away.
The Cardinals, we'd expect them to win. The Patriots, where you'd expect them to win.
Calm yourself.
No, I would
again could go either way.
Yeah,
Bengals again could go either way. But then they finish up to the Seahawks and the Ravens. So it depends where the Seahawks and the Ravens are at those last 2 games of the season. So there's winnable games there. There's probably games that I think they'll beat the Cardinals and they beat the Patriots. The rest of it is going to be a toss-up, and it could go either way, I think.
I can't see the Bengals playing the way they've been playing, getting beat off the Steelers, honestly.
Especially twice.
I definitely can't see us losing twice. I could see us maybe losing the one in Pittsburgh. Then the other games I have them winning is I do think we'll beat the Seahawks, because I think the Seahawks are starting to struggle as well. They've been looking a little rougher. And then last game of the season, that's one where basically we're now getting ahead into preview land here, but the Bengals play the Ravens next week. I think that's the game that's going to decide whether anybody other than the Ravens is going to win the division. if the Ravens beat us in that game, they've beat us twice in the season. We can't catch them. There will be, potentially, if they win this week, they're what are they now, 7-2. So if they win this week, they're 8-2. If they beat us, they're 9-2. Nobody's catching them. So by the time they play that last game of the season, they're not going to be playing their starters.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So that's a winnable game for the Steelers.
Yeah, so I mean, the Steelers, it sounds daft saying it, but what happens between now and the end of the season really is a 50-50 situation. Looking at that running, there's not. They'll pick up those 2 wins, which let's in theory puts them 7-3. We'll just talk hypothetically for a second. How many more games do they need to win, do you think, to get into the playoffs? If they win those 2?
2 or 3. I mean, I think they have the Seahawks the extra ones on top of the win against the Pats. They win the week.
Cardinals.
They win against the Seahawks, and the last game against the Ravens is the
I
one.
agree what you're saying about the Seahawks, Stu, but see the fact they're playing the Seahawks in Seattle, that makes a big thing for me. If the Seahawks at Pittsburgh, and it'll probably be almost the same as you, a guaranteed win. But I think making it there's a big difference having the crowd behind them.
Yeah,
and also talking hypothetically, we don't know what the Seahawks position is going to be going into that second last game. But if they're at home needing to win to go to the playoffs, that you probably wouldn't bet against them. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes for the Steelers. So what players have stood out? Stu, you see the Steelers probably more than most of us this year. What players have stood out? Obviously, we mentioned Joey Porter and TJ Watt. Who else kind of stood out for them this year?
I mean, again, he's been missing a bit of time and all that, but Deontay Johnson, since he came back, he's shown that he is still an elite wide receiver in the league, kind of thing as well, and he's doing it with Pickett at quarterback. Pickens is obviously, he's been there in flashes as well. I mean, we know about the prima donna moment that has happened in the past week where he's all of a sudden deleting everybody from his Instagram and unfriending Kenny Pickett, like it's like your high school drama on Facebook, kind of, where folk are unfriending each other. But when he's played well, he's played very well. The running backs too, actually, considering how, I mean, I'm going to say the word poor here, but how poor the O-line has looked. Both Harris and Warren have been, doing their bit, kind of thing, and they seem to be turning into a decent tandem, kind of thing. So. They have guys that they're playing pretty well, but yeah, the main ones are obviously your TJ Watt, your Joey Porter Jr., Minka Fitzpatrick as well. The usual suspects almost, kind of thing. Apart from Joey.
This is the first time I've actually looked at the Steelers depth chart this season. Their defense is absolutely stacked.
Aye.
So you obviously mentioned those, but Cam Hayward as well.
Yeah.
Juan Alexander. Alex Highsmith, Patrick Peterson, Keanu Neal, plus obviously Porter, Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt. That's an absolute stacked defense.
Landon Roberts as well.
Yeah.
I forgot him. So
Boswell is the kicker. Is Boswell? He's obviously been. He's no myth. He's not missed it, but I know this because we have a side rando bet where between me, Brian, and Martin, who's a Steelers fan, where it's all down to whose kicker misses the most field goals under 54 yards in the season. Boswell's no missed one yet. I think he's had 13 and made every single one of them, whereas McPherson's missed 2, and I know Brian's now a bit humped because I think his guy's missed 3. Like Hopkins, as much as Hopkins has been good too. So Boswell's been lights out again. He's almost turned into bloody Justin Tucker in Baltimore.
Must be something about the AFC North and their kickers.
Aye.
I've also got to give a shout out for their punter, Presley Harvin III. What a name!
Great
I love
name.
a good NFL name. And talking about names, we just quite choose a topic. But it's sad that Dresser wouldn't get released this week with the Rams after me giving them a shout out last week. Obviously,
He didn't even get him for a win. That was that. He was dressed for a loss.
Hey! It's just a pattern on this podcast. It just gets better and better every week. Right, let's flip it over then to the Packers then. Scud, what's the situation with the Packers this year?
Just Love's knows. I think Love's having a steep learning curve. If he is going to come good, he'll need time to do it. You thought him sitting out a couple of years under Rodgers would have learned and came from that, but he's not looked too hot, to be honest with you, so far. He's just trying to rush the ball, try to preempt things and just making silly mistakes. again, it is his first. Although he's been in the league for this is his third, fourth season. It's really the only first time he's had to lead the
Maybe
team.
the fourth year, I think.
I thought so. It's a hard one for him because he's spent a lot of time behind one of the greats of the game, but it's different for learning from the sideline and coming on and doing it. And I think he is struggling. To be honest with you, they've not got the greatest group of weapons round about them either, so it's a harder task that way. Some of the wide receivers have been doing better than I thought they were going to, especially with Watson been missing so much of this season so far. Like your Dobbs and your Reed have all stood up and been doing well for him, but I don't know. It's just it's a transition year. That's all you can really say for them. It is what it's going to be, but I don't know what the answer is. Aaron Jones is getting more and more injury prone the older he's getting as well.
Yeah. I mean, we obviously know about Aaron Rodgers shouting about not getting wide receivers when he was there, and obviously the guys that you just said, Scott, the guys that are there are doing a decent enough job, but are the wide receivers they've got, are they good enough to develop and elevate this team to where it needs to go?
I mean, it's one of those things where I think Green Bay fans might need to, basically buckle up and accept that, especially with the division they're in, might be a lean couple of years, like coming out, this year, maybe another couple of years on top of that, moving forward. I like Watson a lot. Obviously, he's been injured, so he's been out, and I agree with Scott. Like the other guys, I think they've actually looked pretty decent. Like, yes, I would say none of them are lights out studs, kind of thing, but I don't see any reason to say, "Oh, just cut bait on them and set them go." I think you need to let it play out at least for the rest of the year and see if you can get any chemistry with Jordan Love, and then by the time you hit the summer, then you're maybe thinking, well, you make a decision on Love in terms of, like, is he the guy we want to kind of back for another year moving forward, or are we looking for another quarterback in the draft? Are we looking at maybe signing, the Vikings would hate this, seeing as they just got him, but a guy like Dobbs, who's clearly showing, like, wherever he's went, he's pretty, as bad as Arizona were, he made them pretty relevant.
Yeah.
And I think in the first part of the year, and then we also the fairy. I'm sure they spoke about it a lot in the on the review crew. Oh no, I guess we never had the review crew this week. I think it was cancelled. But we were going to talk about Dobbs quite a lot on that. So if you're Green Bay, maybe you're looking at try to grab someone else. But wide receiver wise, I actually quite like the room, and I think there's a lot of room to grow there because they're young players and they do have potential.
Yeah. So just you mentioned on the running back position there, Scott. Obviously, Aaron Jones is getting on a bit. You've got AJ Dillon as well. Is that a position we think they need to address over the next couple of years?
Definitely. AJ Dillon's got his uses, but he's more a power, old school running back, like powerhouse. He's just going to get the short yardage, the tough yards. But if they want a dynamic playmaker, what Jones was, I think they definitely they need to try and strengthen that in the upcoming off season. Definitely seems to be a position because that can help a young quarterback out while he's learning his game. That and a good solid tight end that's always an under for him.
Yeah. So they've got Musgrave there. He's reasonably new there as well. So he's not really. All of them have done a serviceable job at the moment. They're just not making that step up this year. Like you say, it's a transition for them. On the other side of the ball, they picked up Rashawn Gary on a trade deadline. They've also got Jair Alexander at cornerback as well. How are they looking on the defensive side of the ball, Jinx, too?
Jair Alexander, like he of the big mouth, I like to kind of always say, because he is quite mouthy and he loves to kind of talk about down wide receivers, and I get it. It's the whole thing with DBs, like DBs and wide receivers, like they're, I guess because they hang around together so much, they kind of end up with similar personalities. Like they're quite mouthy. Again, look at Eli Apple, the way he was for the Bengals and even for the G-Men before that. But no, like on the defensive side of the ball, I kind of feel like it's the same sort of thing we were seeing last year, where we kept hearing about how good the Packers' defense was, and we're still waiting for them to kind of turn up. Like they've looked better this year than last season, right enough, but I don't know. Jair Alexander, I don't know if he's as good as he thinks he is. He's one of those guys, I guess. Maybe I'm being harsh here, but I just always kind of feel like whenever he talks about being able to shut people down, he doesn't do it. Whereas you then have guys like the Jets, like Sauce Gardner, who even as a rookie last year was shutting down top options, kind of thing. So Jair Alexander, I don't know. He does. It's not the Steelers' defense. We'll put it that way. Like,
yeah. I mean, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I know some of the Packers fans are wanting a new head coach as well. So we'll see how that plays out, because they're obviously not going to, by the looks of it, have a winning record this season. So are the owners going to stick with them? Let's see how that plays out. So let's look at the Packers for the rest of the season. So at the moment they're currently 3-5. So looking at their fixtures, let's pull them up. So they beat the Bears, they beat the Saints, and they beat the Rams last week, obviously. So that's where they picked up the win this season. So Steelers this week, they've then got the Chargers, the Lions, the Chiefs, the Giants, the Bucks, the Panthers, the Vikings, and the Bears again. So there's a good opportunity for them to pick up some wins in there between now and the end of the season. I mean, you could see them, the game against the Steelers could go either way this weekend. Game against the Giants should be an opportunity to pick up a win. Same with the Panthers, and then same with the Bears. So pick up another 3 wins, and it turns out to be still going to be a losing season, but it's not going to be the worst, is it, Scott?
No, it's not. It won't be. You're not going to be. I think you'll be close to maybe even not getting 500, but you'll be a decent chance of not shy from it. Which, when you try to do a rebuild with all those young players, you can't be upset with that. You can't when you're trying to figure out stuff out, because there's still a lot of questions of what you're going to do going forward. So, no, I think you should be happy with that. And as you said, Stu, it's maybe a couple of years before they get back to it again, because you've got a strong division. You've got the Lions coming good. Mm-hmm. The Bears, we just need to wait until they need another cup. They're still in transition as well. And then the Vikings, when Kirk's back next year, should be different again. So they've got a hard division, and I think they've got to need to bear with it and take time and just trust in the team, trust in the management.
Yeah. Okay, guys, let's get to predictions then. I'll kick off. I'll give you Craig's obviously said as a cross. So Craig's got the Steelers winning this by 5 in a 21-16 game. Scud, how do you see this one going?
Steelers by 3.
Let's do it.
I also think the Steelers are going to win it as well, and I think it's going to be in that 3-4 point window. And overall, yeah, it'll be pretty low scoring, because as we said earlier, the Steelers don't allow many points against them, and their offense isn't that great. So yeah, something like 19-16 or something, 2017. Yeah, 2017.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go Steelers as well, but I think I'm going to go lower. I'm going to go 14-9, something like that. I don't think a 14-10. I don't think it's going to be much in this game at all. I think it's going to be.
So what we're saying is go and put your mortgage on Green Bay.
And it's also going to be 55-52.
Aye.
You're going to get your scoreline.
Yeah.
Excellent, guys. That's great. We'll move on to the next game then. So if the season ended right now, we would have 3 NFC North teams in the playoffs. Who would have predicted that at the start of the season? Stu, you obviously know these teams probably better than maybe Brian. Would be competitive between you and Brian, who knows these teams better. I assume he would know his Browns better than you know them, but you never know. So it's the Browns at the Ravens, NFC North clash. How's this one going to go?
Well, I mean, just on what you said there as well, it's kind of hilarious that at the start of the year, because I think both you and I had predicted that the Bengals were going to win the Super Bowl. Yeah. And right now, we are not one of those 3 NFC North teams that are currently in the playoffs, because we are last in the division. So, yeah. This game, though, like speaking of the Ravens and the Browns, like heading into this week, for me, this is all about the defenses more than anything, because you've got 2 of the absolute best defenses in the entire league. Like, I think both of them are fighting out for, in most categories, they're first and second and flipping it over. Like, I think the only one where the Browns are outside the top 2 is they are third in points allowed against per game. So even when they're not in the top 2, they're third best in the entire league. I think so. You have, like, on one side of the ball, you've got the Browns with Myles Garrett, who is most definitely in the running, which Brian will love, for Defensive Player of the Year this year. I think he's joint second favourite right now with TJ Watt. who is obviously playing in the same division. So it's kind of it's fun to watch that. And so he's sitting there. I think they're both on 8 sacks for the season, so or 8.5 sacks. And only who's ahead of them? I think it's Micah Parsons is the only person that's ahead of them in the betting right now. Interesting aside, as a Bengals fan though, Trey Hendrickson is actually only half a sack back of both Myles Garrett and TJ Watt. So defenses in the North pretty elite kind of thing. But yeah, like heading into this game though, like you've got that kind of thing where the Ravens, like we're saying, they're first in points allowed against per game. Like I think they're only letting it's an average of what
13.8.
Yeah, 30. I was going to say 14. So yeah, 13.8 per game. Second in yards allowed. And then the Browns, they are first in yards allowed per game. So for me, I'm like the main storyline with this is probably going to be whose defense is going to stand up and kind of hold off the offense of the other team. On the offensive side of the ball, though, that's where I think a little bit more different because, to answer that question almost, the Ravens right now are sitting 6th in the league with 26.6 points per game. And, in their last 4, they've scored at least 24 points in every single one of those games. And they are definitely looking like they're clicking now. The Browns, that's where they maybe kind of fall down a little bit, where the rushing attack looks decent, but the quarterback play, I know Watson's been injured, but they maybe just haven't had quite as much there as what the Ravens have had from Lamar.
Yeah. So let's just pick out a couple of key players that you mentioned, one of them there, and I don't think we can talk them in more detail. I think we probably have, but I don't get tired of talking them. Scud, let's talk about Myles Garrett.
Oh, the man's a machine. There's not much more you can say than that. He's just devastating. The amount of quarterback, his sacks he's got, tackles he's got is ridiculous, and he's just you can't contain him. And to me, he's eating out Aaron Donald has been the best pass rusher in the game to get to the quarterback. Obviously, he's younger and fitter, but the guy's just unbelievable. And I must say, it takes a certain man that can sit on the sideline and wear that big chain in between series. Size of that chain he puts on the sideline is ridiculous.
Not only does he sack quarterbacks and make tackles, he hurdles offensive lines to block field goals as well, point afters.
Yeah. How good was that?
Off of 1 foot as well. It wasn't a 2. It was a 1-footed jump and over. To do that generally, and to also not draw the flag by not making contact, it was just a superhuman effort with this dude.
Oh, it's absolutely insane. Like him as an athlete, I don't know how many. I don't know if there's a more impressive athlete for me in the entire league right now. I want to say that. And I was saying it a lot last season as well. Is the guy is just a freak, like an absolute freak kind of thing. So
he's something else. On the offensive side of the balls, obviously we've seen Deshaun Watson coming back last week. Do we expect much out of him? There's all this chat about is he starting games? Is he not starting games? Is he fit? Is he no fit? What's going on with him, Scud?
I don't think they've signed the player they thought they were signing, to be perfectly honest with you. I've still not seen anything come out with what he was doing back in his, it sounds stupid, it's in his prime, but when he was playing with the Texans at the start of his career, he's not showing anywhere near that same performance that he did back then. And I would say he's got a better team than what he had back then as well. He's got more weapons, better line, a good run game to base off of, so the RPO is there easily for him. So everything should work well for him, but could be the biggest flop transfer in history.
It's definitely going to be one of the most expensive flops anyway, that's for sure. Flipping over to the Ravens, and Stu, who's impressed you from the Ravens this year? I've obviously mentioned Lamar there, but who else impressed you?
Yeah, Lamar, he's another guy that I've been, even as a Bengal fan, I've been a fan of Lamar since he's come into the league. He's a guy that, obviously he's won the MVP before. And this year, is he managing to kind of play his way into that conversation again? Because as much as we all knew him as the rushing quarterback and people tried to kind of downplay him with that, this year, I think he's getting his accuracy is over 72% for passing. So he is throwing the ball around as well. And, I guess obviously his kind of main target is still Mark Andrews. He's he does what he does. He's absolutely awesome. Zay Flowers is showing things in flashes, although I should have a slight kind of admittal. I'd picked him as one of the, or one of my, I think he was my sleeper pick for the week last week, based on him having a really quiet week the week before. Well, he had an even more quiet week last week.
So, tell me about it. I've got my
but no, Zay Flowers though, I think for a rookie that's kind of coming in as a wide receiver, it's just that nature of the boom bust thing of like sometimes if you're in coverage that doesn't play well to your roots, you're not going to be tossed the ball. But he's a guy that's definitely impressed me because it's hard coming into the league as a rookie wide receiver because it's no quite the same as being a running back where a lot of time you're just kind of handed the rock and it's like on you go, look for the gap in the tackles, like off you go. You're learning playbooks, you're trying to find timing with a quarterback and everything. But he's really impressed me. On the defensive side, like it's almost just like a whole, like I guess like go down the list, Dan. If you bring up their depth charts in defence, and let's just do a roll call of the Ravens.
Let's do it. So on your line, you've got I'm going to try and pronounce this guy's name right. Madubuike, Michael Pierce, Broderick Washington, Odafe Owea, Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, Jadeveon Clowney, Brandon Stevens, Kyle Hilton, Marcus Williams, and Marlon Humphrey.
See, that's the thing. It's that you go down that list, and I'm just sitting going like these guys would be stars on like some other teams, kind of thing. But then this, they're, I keep forgetting until I always remember when I watched them playing. I keep going, there's Jadeveon Clowney because I'm still used to being at the Browns for the last few years. But I'm just like, oh crap, he's there as well. I'm just like, Jesus.
I mean, this might just be my memory. And was Jadeveon Clowney not a defensive lineman when he came into the league? Am I getting mixed up with somebody else? Because they've got him listed as a linebacker.
He was a defensive, even he was a DE, like a defensive end, like when he played Browns. Although I mean, linebacker or edge rusher, but they definitely didn't have him in that like, the second row with the linebackers kind of thing. So it just shows you that. I mean, he definitely has the build where he can do both kind of thing. He was always a bit of a hybrid, but I would have called him a defensive end rather than a linebacker.
I did think that, but see, just looking back, just looking at their depth chart a bit more, players that aren't getting, they're the second phase. You've got Kyle Van Noy, a linebacker, Rock Yasinick, cornerback, and our old favourite Dave Lajabo, who's obviously on IR as well. So they've got depth in positions there as well that next man up is not really going to see a massive drop off in quality either. That's some defence as well. I think we mentioned the Ravens. I think we did talk about them the other week, and we were saying like the Ravens just always seem to produce defences, no matter what. They always just seem to produce it, and I don't think it shows any signs of slowing down anytime soon. Scott, you get anything else to add to this game? Any other thoughts on it?
No, we're only talking about their defence. I said they always turn in it because the boy Kyle Hamilton, this is his second year, and as you said there, he would probably walk into most teams. Yep. He's just a solid player. They seem to have a good eye for picking up defensive talent in the draft in all areas. So, no, I think that's a good point you made, but they always seem to turn out a good defence no matter what. It just seems to be a good... He just seems to have a right knack for it.
Even thinking back last year, Scott, like when Lamar was injured, like towards the end of the year, and the Bengals, we ended up playing them, and our defence is good. I think it was last year too. Like we played them in the playoffs, and look how close the Ravens. It was literally like millimeters for victory when Huntley had the kind of reach, and we ended up with Hubbard kind of grabbing it and taking it the other way. But that was like, I know Tyler Huntley was doing enough to get them down the field, but he looked absolutely terrible. Because I remember talking about it at the time when we were watching the game, just sitting going like, this is one of these horrible games. I kept sitting, I was watching it going, I feel like the Bengals are going to lose this, and they don't deserve to, because it's like Huntley, no offence to him, he wasn't really playing that well. It was just he was doing enough to get them down the field, but the Ravens' defence was also doing enough to stymie like that high-powered, fully healthy Joe Burrow offence kind of thing, like, going the other way. So this year, I have to say, as a Bengals fan, I am slightly worried, especially when they're already that far ahead of us in the division, because they have that defence that they churn out every year that's like always one of the better ones in the league. And now they seem to be starting to click on offence. They're, speaking about the offensive side of the ball, they're what, like, how many yards did they have last week in rushing? Because it's like the Ravens, they seem to have that run back factory as well, where it doesn't matter who it is that's running the ball, they can have 3 guys, but they're going to pick up like 200 yards of rushing in a game, kind of thing. So
what I do know is that Gus Edwards scored 2 touchdowns, eventually showed up for my fantasy team, so I can tell you that stat.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, he showed up the week before. You just didn't have him in your team.
Oh, that is also true.
It's me.
Because he had not shown up any other time until I dropped him, which seems to be the common theme of my fantasy teams this season.
Dan, was that the week against me when you probably had more points? You had more points.
When they were in London.
I did
London I gave a great game in London, and I think he was on my bench when I was in London. So anybody in the fantasy world out there, if you need a player to play well and he's in my team, let me know who it is, and I'll stick him on my bench for you, and he'll score all the points for you. Right, Stu, we can't finish talking about this game and about the Ravens without letting you talk about your romance, your favourite player. Let's talk about Justin Tucker.
Justin Tucker. I mean, well, he's Justin. What have I not said about Justin Tucker? Like, the guy, he's Mr. Automatic. Like, you know, he's definitely the kicker that all kickers in the league should aspire to be. Although your boy in Dallas is he's looking like he could be. You know, I don't want to jinx him because I mean, I thought the same way Evan McPherson for us, and then last year he started the odd miss crept in, like after he was lights out the entire first year. But no, Aubrey looks pretty good too. But yeah, no, Tucker, I honestly don't think I can say anything else other than what I've said for years about him. Like, the guy's...
Just in case anybody watching or listening to the preview crew has not heard you talking about Justin Tucker, I know you don't need a platform to talk about him, I just thought I would give you one.
Yeah, he's the Myles Garrett of kickers. Let's put it that way.
Let's hope he doesn't jump over any offensive lines in it.
Yeah. Speaking of offensive lines, actually, just before we kind of move on a bit there, that's one thing for the Browns I worry about with them, because obviously they've had a few injuries there, and I know Bitonio, he's out for this week. It sounds like he's out for another 3 games as well. And that is something that really worries me for Deshaun Watson and his bruise, strained, who really knows what's going on with its shoulder, that can sometimes stop him in warm-up from even taking the field, and also might impact the Browns' rushing game, because that's where they seem to be finding most of their success, is like with Foden Hunt, even with Chubb out.
Yeah, so I'm just looking through the depth chart's not got anything designation against Bitonio. I'm just checking he
didn't practice. Yeah, I mean, I didn't practice.
I wasn't sure because a lot of people didn't practice, but it tends to be Wednesdays tend to be the day to give some players off. So yeah, that could be an issue against that Ravens defense for the Sean Watson if he's not got his running legs on. Right, let's get predictions in. Scud, where's this one going?
Ravens all day long by more than a score.
Stu?
I also think the same. I think the Ravens, but I'm going to say it's going to be closer. I'll say within a score, 6 points or somewhere between 4 and 6 points.
Yeah, I think Myles Garrett and that defense will keep the Browns in it to a point, but I do feel that the offense for the Browns is not. I don't know. Just something about the watch. I thought they looked quite decent under Walker when he played his games, and I wouldn't be surprised if Walker came back into the fold. Maybe not this week, but at some point during the season, if Watson doesn't. But I think the defense will end up a bit gassed. I think the Ravens will win it, and I'll probably go by about 10. Justin Tucker will put the icing on the cake to finish it.
Yep. Well, that would be enjoyable.
Just for you, Stu, just for you. Right, let's move on to our last game we're covering this week. So this game sounds a bit like a college football matchup in the NFC. It's like basically Washington DC versus Washington State. That's what we've got this week. Got the Commanders at the Seahawks. Scud, talk us through this one.
That's one that I think I'm looking forward. It could potentially be a decent game. I seen plenty of Howell last week against the Patriots, and the one thing that stuck out for me was he spreads the ball around all his wide receivers and all his weapons. Obviously, McLaurin's the number one, but Pringle getting touches and everything like that round about. It was actually quite refreshing to see, because you're not pigeonhole yourself always trying to get the ball to the main guy, which was refreshing, and it's good to see him come in and taking his chance. I know the Commanders fans are all aboard the Hill train at the moment, so to speak, but I do think he's doing a solid job. I didn't think he would have. I'll admit that for the start of the season, I wasn't sure how it was going to go. I thought we were going to see, is it Jacoby is the backup there?
Yeah.
I thought we were going to see him. I thought that would have been a better shout, but he's proved me wrong. Let's just say that. The thing that concerns me is the Seattle secondary seems to be playing better. I know they've had the struggles on the offense side of the ball, but their secondary seems to be playing decent the last few weeks, getting a wee bit better. So it'll be interesting to see how we can do, because the Patriots had no answers for them, but that's not going for much. We've said we're missing a lot of our defensive good players, so it's not really a shock that they managed to spread the ball around quick on us. But I think it would be a lot harder to do that with Seattle, so that's going to be interesting how it goes.
Yeah.
Smith is, I don't know. Smith has basically looked, for a better word, at rank rotten, but the last 3 games he's played against 3 top 10 Ds. So I think that's a bit harsh on him. That depending, you look at him and you think he's playing mince, but he's played against 3 good, solid Ds. So he's got a good bounce back candidate with this game here. Washington have no pass rush. They've gave all that away. They'll put that into the future. So with them not having a pass rush, I think he'll have a lot of time to throw. And him having a lot of time to throw with all the weapons he's got could be dangerous for Washington. If you're going to give him time in the pocket to get the ball out of Metcalf, Lockett, and Jigba, even Fant, all of that could be scary. That could be very dangerous for Washington if they allow him time to go and do that. So interesting. Sorry, my dogs just wanted to join in. But I think it'll be interesting to see. Nessie, shut up. But I think the Seahawks been loaded at wide receiver. I think that could be the key to the game, to be honest with you. They've got a lot more offensive weapons, but I think it should be a good game. Actually, more than I thought I was going to look into it. I was going to enjoy it more when I was looking into the game. I'm actually looking forward to watching it more than what I originally thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Let's talk about Sam Hill for a wee second. Stu, sacked 44 times this season. It's a crazy amount of sacks to be taken when you're only at week 10 in the season. Where is the issue? Is it the offensive line? Is it him not getting out the pocket, him not moving about? What's going on with this?
I think it's a mixture or kind of a couple of things. Like, obviously, the offensive line is part of it, and that is somewhere the Commanders will probably be looking to build this summer, as well as in the defence. But beyond that, there's also, and this is kind of a rookie thing you see sometimes, where from what I've seen of the Commanders, Hill occasionally is maybe extending plays a little bit too much, like looking to try and make something happen, and that's fair enough. Like, I understand that. It's more that he's keeping the ball, but then moving around or whatever, and trying to kind of keep things going. That's something that you'll probably learn. Like, sometimes it's better just to get rid, just get it off throw it into touch kind of thing and just throw the ball away, rather than like run around and then end up take the sack and you're losing 20 yards or something like that kind of thing. Yeah. It's better to lose the down and just try again on the third down or whatever it is that you need to do kind of thing, rather than, oh, great, now we're third down and 30 kind of thing, rather than like down and 6 or whatever they were at. So it's partly the rookie thing, or like, the young player and just getting used to the NFL, and also the O-line as well. But yeah, Hill's best me too. Like, Scott, I think you're right on that as well. I've really enjoyed watching him, and I think he'll learn.
Looking at the weapons he's got around about him, so obviously we all know about Terry McLaurin. What have we made of the dots in this season? And again, and that seems to be every player I talk about. I've had my fantasy. He's not impressed. He's picked up maybe one game with big numbers. I think I was expecting a lot more from him this season, not just from a planning point of view, but I was expecting him to make a big step up this year, but it doesn't seem to have happened as much as what I thought it might have.
I think this is almost a bit like apart from you personally having personal vendettas against guys that don't perform for your fantasy team, I think this might be almost a bit of the I need to actually look into his numbers as well, but without going into it too much like that, it's almost a bit like the Devonta Smith situation from last year, where a lot of people really hyped him up in the fantasy circles going into the years and how, oh, this is going to be the guy, he's going to be great, like he's in a good situation. Terry's there, he's the second receiver, he's going to put up loads of points. And it's not that he's not playing well in real life or anything like that. It's just he's maybe not delivering to what people, or the level where people drafted him at. Because, you know, Devonta Smith, going back to him as an example, he actually had a very good year last year in real life. The problem was a lot of people took like 5th, 6th round picks or whatever, or 4th round in some cases, and used them on him, expecting him to be, oh, he's going to be a bargain even there at that price kind of thing. He's going to be getting me like 15, 20 points a week. And, you know, he had weeks where he was only getting 8 or 7. And so I think it's maybe more that. Like Dotson, I still think is a good wide receiver. And I think him and Scary Terry, I think that's a good 1-2 punch they've got there. I like it. And,
so let's stick to wide receivers for a wee second. Let's flip over wide receivers again that maybe in real life is doing better compared to what expectations. DK Metcalf, what's the situation there? Is he? We talk about Stephon Diggs and the ego and the attitude and stuff like that. Are we seeing the same sort of thing for DK Metcalf over there?
I'd like to see you tell him that.
Well, Scott, I mean, the thing on that, though, is, again, like going back to the Bengals game against the Seahawks, one of the things that we did defence-wise was we just tried to get under his skin. And we basically told him that, and he got annoyed, and he started taking flags. So I think that maybe DK Metcalf, as much as he's an absolute specimen and can be, you know, he could be one of the top receivers in the league, I think he needs to get the temperament under control a little bit better, because I think that's what's going on with him. Because when you look at their other receivers, it's like Lockett's been Lockett for however many years. It feels like a decade now. I know he's not been in it.
He's been around forever.
Yeah, it feels like, and he does that thing where he just puts out the same output every year. And he's one of those guys that he'll get you the first, he just grabs the ball and he'll go down and he gets you the first down, and he just does exactly what he needs to do, sticky hands. GSN looks pretty decent. Like, I can see why they drafted him where they did, and, you know, he's a guy that I think he can definitely develop and keep going. But yeah, DK he's good. I think it's just easy to rile him up.
Yeah, I think you're right there. All the greatest players have got a temperament about them, but they need to be able to control it in order to get the best out of them. You've seen that for players like, take it back to football, like Rooney and that. As soon as you need to try and use that in the right way rather than letting it get to you and disrupting your game.
Yeah, if you go back to look at this, you look at players like Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, Des Bryant, they all had that temperament, but they used it in the right way at the right time most of the time. Obviously, there'll be times where they didn't, but they all had that. They were all fired up. They were always ready to go, but they used it correctly. And maybe if Metcalf can control it and get that and use it the right way, it could elevate him to the levels that we all think he can get to.
Agreed.
Looking at the running back situation, we'll just stay on Seattle for a second. We've got Kenneth Walker. He's down as questionable for this week, so we'll see how that one plays out. And Zach Charbonnet, how's the Seahawks running backs look this year, Scott? How did they look against you last week?
I didn't play them last week.
Seahawks played.
You threw me under the bus there, trying to confuse me. It's not hard. No, the Seahawks, I think Kenneth Walker's shown flashes, but I don't know what it is. He's not the complete running back, if you ask me. He's not going to go through the gaps. He's wanting to go out wide and take the ball and go out in the slants, etc. I think they get harmed there because of, I've not seen a lot of Charbonnet, whatever his name is, but I've not seen a lot of him. But I'm not sure what his style. That's something I actually don't know if he is a hard-nosed go through the gaps kind of guy. But I think Walker needs to be used in the right way, and I personally don't think he's an every down back. You're not going to be able to use him all the time. I might be completely wrong on that, but that's just the way when I've seen him, I've found him a bit lacking when it's trying to get through, just basically up the gut. Yeah.
Obviously, it was the Commanders that played the Patriots last week. I'm just getting my teams mixed up. I apologise. I know there's about 3 under the bus there. When you go, Stu?
I was just going to say one thing on what I've noticed, and I know it's partly due to Walker having those kind of little knocks and injuries and things. Charbonnet, maybe not so much taking his touches away, he has been taking a lot of his snaps, because I think we've now hit the stage where Charbonnet is getting more offensive snaps, so he's on the field a lot more than Walker kind of thing, but they're still running Walker more up the middle, and I agree with you, I don't know if he's best fit for that. Charbonnet is also the same though. He's a shifty back, and he has a good bit of Steve. Good bit, I don't know who Steve is. Good bit of speed, and he's a good receiver of the ball as well. So he's one of those guys that in RPOs he's good to have out there, kind of thing. So
an old school third down back, basically.
Aye, like a Bernard kind of thing. So it's like I don't know if maybe that's something that the Seahawks could look at in the summer, is just like somebody like, I know he ended up with the Bills, but like Fournette, maybe that would have been a good pickup for them, just to have that guy that he doesn't need to play every back either because he's getting a bit older, but Fournette's a big boy. Like I think that's what the Seahawks are maybe missing a bit, like at running back.
Let's flip over to the other side of the ball then. Obviously, Scud, you alluded to that the Commanders have given away their pass rush in the trade deadline. How much are they going to miss Sweat and Young?
I think massively. I think you're going to give Geno Smith too much time on the ball. And as I alluded to earlier, I think he's due a bounce back game. And if that can get their confidence up and get them rolling, that would be interesting to see how that pans out to the end of the season.
Yep. And flipping over to the Seahawks, Stu, they obviously picked up Leonard Williams. What's he going to give them? What sort of pickup was that for them?
I mean, it's something going to give them a bit more kind of, I guess, savvy, I would almost say is the word I want to use there, kind of thing. He's a guy that he definitely knows that side of the ball intimately, and he's definitely he's going to have a positive effect. And the Seahawks, I guess, I mean, I was being a bit hard on them earlier, but Scott, you mentioned it, like just they've been up against some of the hardest defenses in the league, and even against the teams they've played, it's not like the Seahawks defense has been what's let them down. It's the offense hasn't quite clicked. So I think any time you add to a defense that's like even average, you're obviously going to make it better. So I'll be interested to see what he does. But yeah, I like the pickup.
Yeah, obviously, just we'll quickly talk about we mentioned the secondary for the Seahawks. If you take that second level with the Seahawks, you've got Bobby Wagner and Darryl Taylor, Jordan Brooks at linebacker, and you've got Devin Witherspoon, Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, and Rick Whelan. That is some second level they've got there against a team that's maybe not performing to the levels that they can. That level, that secondary will be looking forward to play against Washington this week. Let's have a quick look at their fixtures going forward. I think we mentioned the Seahawks the other week. After this week, they hit an absolute horror run. They've obviously the Commanders this week. They then play the Rams, which are a divisional game, but very winnable for them. They then do 49ers, Cowboys, 49ers, Eagles.
Somebody didn't like them at the head office.
4 games there. And that is it. When you look at that, so we're at 10, 11, so that 12, 13, 14, week 12, 13, 14, and 15. At that key point of the season where you really need to be winning games to make that push for the playoffs, to get hit with those 4 games is an absolute shocker of runs. Stu, what do you think?
Well, this is partly why earlier on when I was talking about the Steelers' chances of beating the Seahawks in week 16, I think it is, or week 7, game 16.
Yeah.
That's why I said that, because I looked at the Seahawks run of games. I was kind of like, I think they might be, there's a good chance they're out of it. Like they might not be making the playoffs kind of thing. And by that point, if you're not making it, you may as well tank for a better pick.
Yeah.
I think you do have
they've got a chance to still win the 5 games. I think they've got Commanders, they've got a chance, the Rams, and then you finish off with Tennessee, Pittsburgh, and the Cards. So you still get potential to get to a 10-win season there.
Is that going to be enough to get them in the playoffs, though, Scott? Because we saw teams on 9 wins last year not make it.
Yeah. In the NFC, I think that's going to be hard to get into the playoffs with that record, I think.
As I say, but you're assuming that, as I'm saying, that's saying if they win them, but you've also, football's a funny game, and Dan, you'll testify to that with what happened with the Cardinals, mate. But it's just these one-off things, us beating the Bills, like no one would have seen that coming this year. So all these wee things can happen. So it'll be interesting to see. I definitely think it will be hard for them. I'm not denying that, but I think they might have a puncher's chance.
And to be fair, Scott, we really don't know what 49ers are turning up every week at the moment either.
And that's
so
true.
They could get the 49ers that could walk them off the park, or get the 49ers that just can't win games. So, I mean, I don't know how they play out. They've obviously got a chance in the playoffs. Whether it happens or not is another question. Right, let's get to predictions, guys. Good, where's this one going?
Seattle. Oh, I did put a score down, but I can't remember now. Seattle 24-26. I'll go Seattle with 10.
Stu?
I think it's going to be Seattle as well. All things saying that, and just based on the fact that they have the offense and the Commanders have traded away some people that may have put a lot of pressure on Geno, kind of things. So I think Geno's going to have too much time, and I think it's going to be a high scoring game. Though I'm going to put it in the over 55 total point wise. But yeah, I think the Seahawks will win it by 7.
Yeah, I'm going to go Seahawks as well. I'm not going to say comfortable, but I don't think they'll be in any danger here. I think their defense is going to have too much for that Washington line, and the Washington defense really don't have anything to throw at them. So, yeah, I'm going to go Seattle. Not comfortably, but they'll win without too much of an effort. Right, guys, that was a great coverage of those 3 games. So what we'll do is our favourite rest in 1. So, usual rules apply. 1 more dancers, and then I somehow managed to give a story for each game anyway, even though I make up the rules and say it's 1 more dancers. It's the only time I really get to talk, so I'm going to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Right, so let's start tonight's game. Panthers at the Bears. Scott, we'll do usual clockwise. Scott, on you go.
Bears.
Chubba.
We'll come to him shortly. I'm going to go Panthers. Well, I'm going to say hopefully Bryce Young can do something, and I like to see him pick up a wee bit. So I'm going to go Panthers just because I like Bryce Young. It's good. I may as well not ask you this one. Well, I can actually, because you went against it the other week, so I'm going to go Colts and Pats.
Pats.
Colts.
Yeah, Colts.
I like to let my hat run the head sometimes.
Saints at Vikings.
Vikings.
Vikings still, even with Dobbs.
Yeah, same. This one could be quite interesting. Titans at Bucks.
Just because I want to see it happen, I want to see Titans.
See, I was going to do that. I'll say Bucks, just so that because we've all been like, apart from the Pats, like we've all been unanimous so far in every single game prediction. So I'm going to go Bucks. But yeah, I think this one could be very interesting. I'm looking forward to this game actually.
I think this is an interesting game because it's probably the matchup of 2 of the most popular quarterbacks within the crew.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield against Will Levis. I'm going to go Bucks. I think they maybe just got too much on offense compared to the Titans. This one that we mentioned this time, this one I think potentially go either way depending on which side of the Santa Clara team turns up. So with 49ers and the Jags.
I think I'd still need to come off the bye of the 49ers, and I need CMC to have a good game. So
for personal reasons, Scott chooses 49ers. No, I'm 49ers as well. Same thing, coming off the bye. Hopefully some of the injuries should have healed up for some of their guys. So 49ers.
Yeah, I think that bye week, they obviously had that wee spell where just things weren't going right for them. They weren't winning games they probably should have won or predicted to win. I think over the bye they should have worked on that, and I think the 49ers with that one as well. Another 2 quarterbacks that are very highly liked within the crew. Next game, Lions and the Chargers.
Lions.
You know what? They've been looking better to me over the past bit, so I'm going to say Chargers. It feels weird saying it because normally I'm all about the Lions, but Chargers.
I can't go against the Lions. Oh no, but it's Justin Herbert. I'm torn.
You're not going.
Oh, tie. The next game isn't a case of who's going to win it. There's 2 questions I got for this next game. How many times is Tommy DeVito going to be sacked, and how many points are the Cowboys going to win by?
35 and a shit ton.
35 sacks. Win by a shit ton of points.
Oh, I got them wrong around. Sorry.
Like a Parsons defensive player of your time. Sorted.
No, I think by the end of this one, Tommy DeVito is going to think he's Danny DeVito, or he's going to be about the same size and proportion. He'll be squished. So, no, 7 sacks. And score-wise, yeah, I think there'll probably be how many will they put score on them? Like, I don't know, 34 points, 35? Like,
Well, we beat them by, we beat them by 40 at the start of the season, so
I'm going to say
I think
slightly less. I think you'll ease up just to be kind. Like,
no, we won't. Giants, there's not a chance we're easing up in the Giants. To be fair, Gav messaged me this morning when they realised that Tommy DeVito was starting in it. I think he might be a wee bit fearful.
Poor Gav.
Yeah. Right. Jets at the Raiders.
Raiders.
Jets.
I'm going to go Jets as well. I think Zach Wilson's going to keep them ticking over to go in and that finishes on the rest of one. I'm just going to bring another point in that's come out of my head. We'll talk about when's Aaron Rodgers coming back, guys? He told Derwin Jones last week, give me a couple of weeks. He's thrown 50-yard passes on a 3-yard drop, a 3-step drop. When we seen Aaron Rodgers back?
I think it's. I mean, I know he's saying 2 weeks, but come on. Like, with that injury, I think if he comes back in 2 weeks' time, that's absolute madness. And he's asking to just only last another, 4 or 5 snaps before it pops again, kind of thing. It's like we know that, Shaney in the group, or whatever, that he's been on the crew before in the past, Shaney suffered that same injury before. It took him, close to 2 years. I know he's not a professional athlete with, a full team of physios, but it took him, 2 years to get back to being able to run properly. So, to me, I'm a bit I don't see how he could possibly be back yet. Maybe by the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, throwing those passes last week on a 3-step drop was just to even watch, to think that he's got to that point already is just mental. Is he going back to the playoffs?
I actually can't believe he's anywhere near back to on the field again, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But you're saying, why not just wait and come back next year and try and do something the next year? Don't risk completely shattering your knee.
And then you're done. I know he's nearly done because he's getting up there in years, but you'd still think, to me, looking at Aaron Rodgers, it's like Tom Brady. He's never been a runner with the ball. So if he can keep himself healthy, you'd think he has another 2-3 years in him.
Mm-hmm.
Still being potentially close to his peak. So why would you come back and risk that? That's madness.
Yeah, I don't think he'll come back if he isn't fit enough to play. I don't think they're going to risk it because then they lose him for another year. But I think they expected, once he went out, I think the Jets thought season's done. We're not going to really do anything. They're sitting 4-4. They're now thinking, if we can just stay competitive for another few weeks, we can get him back and we can actually make a proper run for the playoffs here. Yeah, be interested to see how that one plays out. Right, let's go on everybody's favourite part of the week. Fantasy stud and sleepers.
We're terrible.
Let me just pull up Craig. So Craig's got wide receiver and tight end, so I don't have to go with him first. Just wanted to check because I've got his. So Scud, I'll come to you first. Who's your quarterbacks this week?
Quarterback Gino is a stud. I just think he's going to get far too much time in the ball, and we've seen what he could do last year with the time. So I think Gino against the Commanders. Plus, I looked at that game too much. I couldn't no pick them. And sleeper Heineke versus the Cards. I think he's got
that's a brilliant sleeper. I love that. Because you've actually wait for somebody that might be available in in a very deep league waiver wire. Well done, Scud. Hope he's good.
Not Kyler Murray.
Is he definitely playing?
Yeah, he's playing for sure.
It's been interesting to see how he does coming back this week. But yeah, I think he's a good shout. I like that shout. Stu, running backs.
Okay, stud of the week, and this is way more obvious than him with Heineke. shout there. Rashad White for Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I've got him as a stud against the Colts. The Colts' defense has not been that great.
They're not playing the Colts.
When the Colts, God damn it, who they play?
Titans.
Titans. Okay, same thing. The Titans, their rush defense. Sorry, I had this. The Titans' rush defense started the year hot as, hotter than July, as Stevie Wonder would say, kind of thing. But then, and since week 3 or 4, they've dropped off, and I think they're now down to like 14th or 15th in the league in rush defense, and they've been absolutely not abysmal, but they've been getting cracked open a bit more as the seasons went on. So I could see Rashad White, who also seems to be picking things up again. I think he's going to do well with the Blood.
Okay, and your sleeper?
Sleeper, have to go with a local boy, Thursday Night Football, Chuba Hubbard. Picking him for the...
Oh, damn, I actually had it lined up. My question to you was going to be, who's your stud and sleeper and why is it Chuba Hubbard? And I missed it.
Well,
forgot.
He's the local boy. He's playing the Bears, and let's face it, the Bears have not been really... Their defence has not been great. So, to me, I just look at it and go, this is a perfect opportunity. And the Panthers might be looking at this as, we can actually win this game here. So, they're probably not going to be in a situation where they're just relying on Bryce to air it out all the time. So, there'll be a bit more rushing with it. So, Chuba Hubbard.
Perfect. Right, go to wide receivers. So, Craig's picked up the wide receivers. So, his stud for the week is D-Hop. He reckons against the Bucks secondary he'll get a good few yards. He scored TDs already. So he got 11 targets last week against the Steelers. He expects the same from him this week. So he's going with D-Hop as his stud. His sleeper, this is why one I was surprised. Scudgy will be happy with this one. He's going for Demario Douglas as his sleeper this week. He says if Parker doesn't clear concussion, he's going to go with DeMarco Douglas because he says the Pats have got to come right at some point now.
No. It's a good shout, but we've not really got we're diminishing at wide receiver all the time, so somebody needs to catch the ball, I hope.
Well, do so I'm not talking twice back to back. Scud, I'll come to you for the defences before I come back to the tight end. So these are defences.
Defences, again, I should have been allowed to look at games before it because I think the Seahawks will do well against the Commanders. I think they'll manage to hold them, especially with their secondary. I think that will be key in this one for that thingy. And just to go completely against what you said about Chuba Hubbard and the Panthers, I've picked the Bears.
That's fine. Canada, you Scud. Not that Canada. Canada is angry right now. Chad Kroger will be appearing outside your house, setting up for a Nickelback concert any second now.
Oh, brilliant. Right,
Hubbard.
Right, tight ends. Craig's went with his stud. He's going with Dalton Schultz as his stud this week. Bengals are 29th against points allowed against tight ends, Stu. So he's went with Dalton Schultz for that reason. And his sleeper, because Kyler Murray's back, he's gone with Trey McBride. So because he's playing against Atlanta, and he says that Hawk got a lot of success against them last week, so he's going to go for Trey McBride as his sleeper tight end.
I see the logic.
Right. Yep. Well, as always, Stu, final word on this goes to yourself for the kickers.
Okay, kickers. The stud, I'm going with a super obvious one. Younghoe Koo. I'm going to pick. So Keith will be absolutely delighted because we all know how much he loves Koo. So there you go. Keith Koo is going to be the stud of the week. Sleeper, it took me a long time to pick this because I was going through all these games. I'm sitting going like, there's too many that are too obviously going to do well or too obviously going to just be absolute tire fires or not really get much kicking work. So I have ended up going with Matt Prater. He's playing the Falcons this week, and I could see him putting up some decent points. So if he's floating around your waiver wire, maybe give him up on if you're looking for someone for bye-week coverage, or if you just fancy picking up kicker.
So the real reason why you're not going for Aubrey this week, Stu, is that we're going to score too many touchdowns and not enough field goals. Is that what you're saying?
That was exactly it, because I kind of looked at him and was just... that's why I went with Koo as the stud as well. It was kind of a bit like, I don't know, I can't really pick him. The Browns, I did also look at it going, well, Justin Tucker could put up points, but I'm like, he's too obvious. I always take like the top few guys, like in any position that I'm doing this with, and I just throw them out and then try and pick people that are a bit further down the list, because I kind of feel like, well, Justin Ticker's going to be an automatic start and everybody's team has him is playing him every single week because he's kind of matchup proof. Young Irn-Cru probably is as well, but I'm still like, he's a bit further down the list than Tucker.
So is that why no one ever picks Mac Jones for the study of the sleep quarterbacks then?
Why he's at the top
too
5?
Obvious, just too obvious.
When we say Mac Jones is asleep, it means that he is lying asleep on the field. That's what it's happening.
He's up too late at night studying the playbooks. That's the thing. He's just trying to improve himself, and he's ending up falling asleep during the games.
Scott, I know we're going to go slightly off topic here. When's he going to pull him?
I don't know. How you got to pull him for? Zappy's not exactly got to do much better.
Did you know?
Is he know? Or Cunningham?
Cunningham's been, is he back in the practice squad or cut? I don't know. I don't think they'll think me. If they're going to say it, I think they'll see him out this year, and then we'll probably end up with a decent pick. If they want a quarterback, they can get it there. Personally, I don't think they'll do much more apart from that this year.
Right, sorry, we all know Mike Vrabel's decent with quarterbacks, so you never know who you're going to get.
I'm our new coach.
Right, guys, it's been a pleasure as always. I love Thursday nights. They're my favourite night of the week now. I love just chatting this chat with you guys. And again, tonight's been one where we've covered teams we don't always cover. We've got some good stories out there. We'll do the same next week. Why not? Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Just a wee reminder, get on the Twitter. Check out the giveaway with Claire the Bear. Couple of days left on it. Some real good goodies in there. You don't want to miss out on this. As always, she's put a great package together. She's not told us what's in it, but we know what she can put together. So we know it's going to be something good. As always, catch us on all the socials at Irn-Cru, wherever you get your podcasts. Until next week, this has been the preview crew. The guys will be back on Monday, assuming they're all well, with the review crew to look at these games. Scott, thanks for your time again tonight.
Cheers, bud. Pleasure as always.
Stu, I'll let you get back to work.
Yep, cheers. Thanks so much. Lunch break's over. Time to go back.
Cheers, everybody, and we'll catch you all soon.